Good evening and welcome to Colorado Mesa University TV News. I'm Stephen Adams. The Academy Awards were this Sunday night, and as I'm sure you've already seen all over the internet, Leonardo DiCaprio finally won an Oscar. He received the Oscar for Best Actor for his role in The Revenant, and he used his time in the spotlight to call for action on climate change, saying that he had to, quote, go to the southern tip of the earth just to find snow for The Revenant. Other big winners at the Academy Awards were Brie Larson, who won Best Actress for her role in Room, Mark Rylance, who won Best Supporting Actor for his role in Bridge of Spies, Alicia Vikander, Best Supporting Actress in The Danish Girl, and director Alejandro G. Iñárritu for The Revenant. Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay went to Spotlight, but Mad Max Fury Road walked away with the most awards, totaling 6 on the night. On her first day on the street, Prince William County Police Officer Ashley M. Gindon, 28, was one of 3 officers called to respond to a domestic violence incident in Woodbridge, Virginia. As the 3 officers approached the front door of the single-family home on a quiet residential street, Ronald Williams Hamilton, an Army Staff Sergeant stationed at the Pentagon, started shooting. Police do not yet know why, but all 3 officers were shot. Gindon's wounds were fatal. The other officers were expected to recover, but remained hospitalized Sunday. Police said Hamilton's wife, Crystal Hamilton, called 911, but he shot and killed her before officers arrived. The couple's 11-year-old son was home during the altercation and fled at some point, police said. He was not injured. Prince William County Prosecutor Paul Ebert said at a news conference Sunday that he will probably pursue the death penalty against Hamilton, who is facing 6 charges, including capital murder of a police officer, first-degree murder, and 2 counts of malicious wounding of a police officer. Hamilton is being held without bond at the county jail and is scheduled to make his first court appearance Monday. The Reverend William B. Schooler, age 70, was shot around 12:30 p.m. Sunday at St. Peter's Missionary Baptist Church in Dayton, Ohio, local police said. His brother, Daniel Gregory Schooler, was arrested at the church and taken to the Montgomery County Jail. He faces a murder charge on Monday, said Sergeant Richard Blommel. This is at least the 3rd shooting this month where police have not found the motive of the killer. On Saturday morning, guns fell silent for the first time in years in parts of civil war-torn Syria as a ceasefire brokered by the United States and Russia went into effect. The deadline came as the UN Security Council, meeting in New York, voted unanimously to approve the agreement to halt the brutal conflict that has left more than 250,000 people dead, sent millions fleeing the country, and facilitated the spread of the Islamic State in Syria, Iraq, and far beyond. However, Russian warplanes resumed airstrikes on towns and villages in the north, and there were reports of artillery fire across several front lines on Sunday, just 1 day after the ceasefire went into effect. The violence came on only the 2nd day of a planned 2-week cessation of hostilities, dimming hopes that the calm that took hold Saturday will endure long enough to inject new momentum into a wider peace effort in Syria. A twin suicide bombing has killed 70 in Baghdad's deadliest attack this year. Police sources said the suicide bombers were riding motorcycles and blew themselves up in a crowded mobile phone market in Sadr City, wounding more than 100 people in addition to the dead. In a statement circulated online, the Islamic State said it was responsible for the blasts, stating, quote, "Our swords will not cease to cut off the heads of the rejectionist polytheists, wherever they are," using derogatory terms for Shiite Muslims. SpaceX aborted the launch of a commercial communications satellite less than a second before liftoff on February 28th, delaying the mission yet again. SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket was rescheduled to launch the SES-9 satellite from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida at 6:46 p.m. on Sunday, but the initial liftoff time was pushed back 35 minutes because a boat wandered into the mission's keep-out zone. At 7:21 p.m. on Monday, the Falcon 9's engines began firing up, but they shut down just as the countdown clock was reaching 0. SpaceX founder and CEO Elon Musk suggested that the rocket may have been able to take off if not for that stray boat. The SES-9 mission has now been pushed back 3 separate times. Hillary Clinton won South Carolina's Democratic primary, receiving almost 75% of the votes and walking away with 39 delegates. Bernie Sanders received 14 delegates from South Carolina. Donald Trump won by a huge margin as well, and since South Carolina is a winner-take-all state for Republicans, Trump took all 50 delegates. Donald Trump also received his first endorsement for the GOP nomination from a senator. Senator Jeff Sessions of Alabama said Sunday, quote, "Politicians have promised for 30 years to fix illegal immigration. Have they done it? Donald Trump will do it." Sessions spoke at the Madison City School Stadium in Alabama, where thousands gathered to hear Trump speak. Sessions said to the crowd, "I've told Donald Trump this isn't a campaign, this is a movement." March 1st is Super Tuesday, when Alabama, Arkansas, Colorado, Georgia, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Vermont, and Virginia all hold primaries or caucuses for both parties. Here in Colorado, only the Democrats will be holding a caucus, And if you're a registered Democrat, check the Colorado Democratic Party's website for caucus locations. Speaking of government, we have the Director of Communications for CMU's Associated Student Government, Shonda Archer, with us to give us an ASG update. Shonda, what's going on with ASG this week?
So we have MAV Awards going on this week. The 6th annual Maverick Awards are open. You can go on to OrgSync to find them. Scroll up. I don't have prompter. You got to scroll up. There you go. Keep going. The 6th annual Maverick Awards are intended to serve as recognition of the outstanding students, faculty, and staff during the 2015-2016 school year. Deadline for nominations are April 26, 2015, and finalists will be notified by April 27th. Self-nominations will not be accepted. The Associated Student Government Maverick Awards Committee will review all nominations received by April 26, 2015. Nominations received after April 26 will not be included in the section selection process, no exceptions. This nomination form will ask for a letter of recommendation explaining the merits and qualifications of the individual or group being considered for the award. This letter of recommendation must be submitted for the application to be considered complete. ASG saw 3 bills on Wednesday, February 24th. The first up is ASG 1520, presented by the Council for Exceptional Children Student Chapter, asking for $800 to be allocated from the Student Control Reserve Fund to cover various costs to send 5 students from the Council of Exceptional Children Club to the 2016 Exceptional Children Convention that will be held in St. Louis, Missouri, April 13th through April 16th. This bill passes 22-1. Next up is ASG 1521, presented by the CMU Club Nordic team, asking that $5,200 be allocated from the Regional National Competition Fund to cover transportation to send 9 students from the CMU Nordic team to the USCSA Rocky Mountain Conference that will be held in Lake Placid, New York on March 6th through the 12th. This bill passes 23-0. And the last bill is ASG 1522, presented by the club basketball team, asking that $1,170 be allocated from the Regional National Competition Fund to cover gas and hotels to send 16 students from the CMU club basketball team, to the NIRSA Regional Basketball Championship that will be held in Lincoln, Nebraska on March 4th through the 6th. This bill was sent to conference committee for further review and was later approved for $1,460. ASG meetings are in UC Room 213 at 7 p.m. right next to the Student Life offices.
That's it for news this week. Now over to Carly Hanley for Take 5 with Foster.
Well, I can tell that.
Good evening and welcome to Take 5 with Foster, brought to you by Colorado Mesa University TV News here on campus on our station here. I'm here with President Foster, and we are going to get a little bit more personal with this interview today. So are you ready?
I don't know. You all in the Crite want to do all this personal stuff. It's just so quirky, yes.
Yeah, we need to break those walls down.
Good luck with that. We'll get it just a little, not too far.
All right. It'll be easy. Don't worry. First question is, where did you go to college?
Went to college in Ohio at a small liberal arts school called Kenyon College. It's in a little tiny town in Gambier, Ohio.
Cool. And did you like it there?
I did. It was good for me. It was a real intense school. It was what, top 5 hardest schools to get into, and why they let me in, who knows? But they did. But you know, it was a really writing intensive, very liberal arts, traditional liberal arts experience, and so that was a total eye-opener for me, besides which most of the students were from the East Coast, and so I think there were more students from foreign countries than there were west of the Mississippi, and I was from out here in Colorado, of course, so I was a distinct geographic minority.
Nice. And was it kind of a transition to go from that small school to then being president of Mesa?
Oh yeah, very different, exactly. It is. Although there's a lot of similarities, you know, a lot of things that I think I found valuable, like small class sizes and faculty who really enjoy students and really enjoy their disciplines and are very into what they do, which I think you find here. I think that's the commonality between the two.
Cool. And if you could go back to college and take a different course or study something different that might help with your career today, do you know what that would be? If you could just maybe be involved in a different club or anything different that could enhance your career.
That's a pretty good question. Yeah, I don't know. I followed the advice I give to parents about their students, which is I really enjoyed economics. I was an economics major, and so I just liked that. I did a little bit of political science, but it was more theoretical at Kenyon, you know, reading Marx, Locke, Hobbes, etc. So not as applied as our political science. And so if, in fact, had that been a little more applied, a little more mathematical, maybe I would have done that.
Yeah.
But
cool. And do you ever put yourself back in the position of being a college student to try to make decisions in that way?
you know, we try. It is interesting because you always want to have the student's perspective, but how do you get that? You know what I mean?
Right.
Does that mean 1 or 2, or is that 51%, or, you know, exactly? So, you know, I visit with students a lot in a variety of different settings, and you try to, you know, visit with them, anticipate, think about what they're going to think, and you know, as they voice their opinions, listen to them and take that into consideration. But it's just impossible. You know, it's like having somebody who says the faculty thinks. Well, nobody can tell you what the faculty thinks. Faculty is a many-headed hydra. You know, it's just got way too many perspectives.
Right.
But yeah, you try and anticipate what's going to be important to students, and part of that is we are who we are, and we think the feedback we get, we survey a lot and look at those surveys about what you all value and what you say as you come in, why you came, and as you left, what you really, you know, as you graduate, we'll make you fill out a survey and you'll tell us, you know, I liked my faculty, they were expert in their profession, they were taught, you know, housing was good, food was bad, all those sorts of things. And so, you know, we try and take those into account and try and adapt to them.
And do you think that that's the best way, the most effective way?
It's one way. You know, there's just no single way. You use surveys, you use conversations, you know, wandering around campus, engaging with students, talking to them. You know, I'll get emails from them periodically. There's just, you know, sitting at a ball game or sitting at a play or just downtown, you run into them at a coffee shop or something. And our students are very willing to share their opinions. And so you just get it and read the student newspaper, see what their perspective is,
You listen.
talk to student leaders.
It's the biggest thing is listening.
Well, yeah, you just gotta, you're always sort of paying attention. You know, I teach a class, you get a perspective of students from that.
And what was your favorite part about college? With taking all of that into consideration, what was your favorite?
You know, the whole different learning experience, you know, it is so different than high school where you're picking courses, you're picking majors, you're doing what you want to do, what you like to study. I played sports in college, and so I enjoyed that a lot.
What sports did you play?
Football.
Oh, nice. What was it? A division?
Division III.
Division
We were the number 3 defense in the country. And I played on the defense.
Look at
Of course,
you.
we lost a lot because our offense was horrible. They'd throw a pick six and would lose 7-0.
What position did you play?
Corner and safety.
Nice.
It was funny. The trainer came around and when I was a freshman and had his head down and said, height, you know, where you from, high school, et cetera. And they says, height, you know, looking, so I said 6 foot. So he wrote it down. For 4 years in the program, I was 6 feet tall.
What are you actually?
Not 6 feet tall.
Well, perfect. And what's the main thing that you want your students to leave college with besides their education? What's kind of the main experience that you want them to get out of CMU?
You know, you mature and you gain a lot of in class, outside of class, you know, perspective about how do you deal with adversity, you know, through your career, something, maybe one, maybe more than one thing is going to happen to you that you're going to have to overcome, or you're going to have to say, whoa, okay, that was not fun, and I'm going to have to figure out how to overcome that. And I think the capacity to understand different points of view and realize, you know, this whole, and you see it on other campuses, and I'm just so happy that we haven't seen it here, and I don't think we will, of people not allowing people to express differences of opinion. You know, the film you see from, gosh, you know, Harvard or Princeton or, the University of Missouri, where they're shouting at somebody and swearing at them because that person dared to have a different opinion than they did, or shut that camera off, you can't film this. And as a student, that's what you expect from a really badly thought out administrator, who doesn't want that to go out. And so the ability to have that discourse and say, all right, I think that's crazy, absurd, I hate that you think that, I really find that offensive, but not reacting in that way. Instead saying, okay, I don't agree, but I was talking to a guy the other day who will remain nameless, and we were having a difference of opinion, and I finally said to him, it was somebody in Denver at the Capitol, and I said, well, that's okay, let's move on because we have other things to talk about, and reasonable people, we could just agree to disagree. And his response, classic, he's from New York, says, no, we can't because I'm right. And I said, well, I guess we'll have to disagree about that too. I don't, what do you mean, no, we can't because I'm right? And so I would be so disappointed if that was one of our students who made that comment.
Do you have any advice for students to attempt to develop that while they're in college then, that problem solving, and then also the courage to have a difference of opinion in a classy manner? Do you have any advice?
We give a lot of opportunities to participate in class, in discussion. And, as I teach class, you always have 2 or 3 or 4 students and you got to participate. You got to put yourself out there. You got to, here's what I think. And, maybe it's dumb. Okay, so who cares? But you got to express yourself. And then you learn, okay, that wasn't the best way, or and there's going to be a point of time when somebody says something so offensive, you do lose your cool. And then you learn from that. You go, wow, I look like a complete jerk, ranting and raving and screaming. And so maybe that's that. So all those learning moments are there, but you've got to put yourself out there. You can't just sit and say, okay, I'll sit back here and nobody will think I'm not smart because I'm not talking.
That kind of goes back to what we talked about 2 weeks ago in our interview as well, that you hire faculty that is going to respect that difference of opinion, and that's going to kind of feed that and develop the students. And I think that's great. That's a great thing about CMU.
I think so too. Good.
Well, thank you for joining
We
us
agree.
today. We agree. Thank you for joining us on Take 5 with Foster, and make it a great week, Mavericks.